Fallout 76 had one of the most disastrous launches in gaming history, probably the worst ever seen for a modern game title. It was riddled with bugs, glitches, empty locations, boring gameplay, and was overall just a bland, unenjoyable experience for most players. Even so, there were a courageous few who braved the horrors of the wasteland to help set the foundation for something truly incredible. The Fallout 76 role-playing community, perhaps a keystone to the eventual rise of the Fallout 76 fan base, stepped in to help fill the void in the lifeless hills of Appalachia. Different groups would soon begin to form, taking inspiration from both in-game faction as well as their own creative liberties. Fallout 5.0 filling the role of the Responders, the Vultures rising as a prominent raider gang, as well as other fun, noteworthy groups like EAT, Establishment of Appalachian Taste Testers, a cannibal group. The emergence of these groups would finally give players something to fill the empty void of content. Among these role-playing communities, however, was a group known as the Enclaved Armed Forces, and much like their fellow factions, this group would partake in fun, story-driven community activities, creating fun and engaging Enclave-based escapades within their group. Occasionally, they would also lightly collaborate with these other groups in order to expand upon their fan-driven stories. This would change, though, not long after the start of the new year in 2023, as the EAF would post a statement on their official website that marked a dramatic shift in the normal practices of most role-playing communities.
The Enclave Age has begun. In the EAF, we strongly believe in proper behavior. This belief stems from the military philosophy of excellence that drives us to do the right thing. We do this not because there's a rule, but because we are leaders, and we lead by example in the face of internet toxicity. As such, each EAF member will stand up for all citizens, and will also go out of their way to support new players and actively police the wasteland. What this means is any behavior from the player base that is considered toxic or harmful to the lawful enjoyment of Fallout 76 will be taxed by the EAF. In short, you will lose your camps and in some cases, player account. The EAF evicts toxic players from public worlds daily and is responsible for many account bans. This is your warning. Play fair, play nice, or we will come for you. For everyone else, please join your local EAF world as you can be sure it will lack griefers, dupers, scammers, trap camps, and legacy weapon users.
Clearly, someone has been brushing up on their Caesar's Legion level Hegelian dialectics, because this is starting to sound like some real toxic star-spangled bannered ends justifies the means bullshit. And I wasn't the only one who thought so. Upon learning about this information, the vast majority of Fallout fans had a strong negative reaction, as this once strict role-playing group was taking it upon itself to enforce a self-prescribed doctrine of behavior upon the community at large. It was also discovered that the group's active website also contained IP tracking features, most likely used to compare to the ID addresses of any players that they would eventually target, with or without probable cause. Now, this is just me, but I can't see any way that scraping people's IP addresses will lead to problems, on or off the game. As we all know, large groups of peacekeepers having instant access to your IP addresses never has any potential risks or negative consequences. All it would take is just one bad actor with a bone to pick, and some real-world IP address could be used to unjustly get them banned from the game, or even worse, could be used to track down their address holder's real-world location. And based off of their official statement, it doesn't seem like you would need to get very high in the command either, as it states that every Enclave officer would assist in policing the wasteland, meaning that they could potentially be allowed access or reference to these IP addresses. Now, to be fair, a lot of this is speculation and theory, as so far, thank Adam, no reports of these practices being used in such ways have come to light. This is, of course, mostly because all EAF accounts, pages, and socials all seem to have gone permanently dark, save for perhaps some private messaging chats like Discord. A high-ranking member of the group known as Grey Fox also stepped forward with a 30-page document talking about a lot of the less than savory things going on behind the scenes of this Enclave crew. He alleges that other high-ranking members of the group made transphobic and racist comments towards himself and other members of their group, and even showed signs of abusive behaviors towards others. The document itself is pretty big, so I can't go over all of the details, but if you want to read it for yourself, check the links down in the description. In the town that I grew up in, there was this one guy who would constantly run for mayor, and one of the big policies that he promised was to keep street parking free for every citizen. Problem was that this was a more residential town, and paid street parking wasn't even a thing. So he was running on an agenda that was a literal non-issue. This feels like exactly the same kind of shit. That is of course not to say that Fallout 76 doesn't have its fair share of rapscallions that get a little too rowdy from time to time. I've seen some people step back from the game entirely due to toxic players. However, this is still a tiny minority of the total population, which, for the most part, are welcoming and supportive towards others. Even if this wasn't the case though, the way you're going about dealing with this issue is hostile at best and tremendously toxic at worst. Can you imagine if a group like this had formed in Minecraft or Roblox or some other massive player count game? People getting mass reported because they said a cuss word? No online game would ever be able to hold an audience. Overall, this was just a massive shit show that, luckily, took care of itself pretty quickly. So the community dodged a bullet here. But I would encourage every player to keep an eye out for people taking these kinds of dogmatic approaches to peaceful player engagement. Because in the long run, it does more harm than good. For now, though, that's about it for this video. What did you guys think? Did you hear about this whole thing when it popped off? Do you think the EAF is way out of line? Or were they onto something? You know my thoughts, so I'm interested to hear yours. As always, though, I thank you so much for watching, like and subscribe and stuff, and I will see you all out there in the wasteland.